I'm absolutely certain that we can end homelessness and that we should. It matters to me personally, and I think that I want to play my role and play my part in shifting the response to homelessness to one which is about housing and housing first. Tonight there will be 60,000 people in hostels, roughly 10,000 in night shelters, and a whole range of other homelessness accommodation projects, all of which cost more than regular everyday rent.
Housing associations, the last year the turnover of the social housing sector in England was around 20 billion, but the surplus they made after all their costs was around 3 billion. That 3 billion would have been invested in homes, but the reality now is that more and more money needs to be invested in their existing homes, tackling damp and mould and other decent home issues.
I guess in terms of stumbling blocks, just to add, because I completely agree on the financing side, I suppose we're coming at it from two perspectives. So one is that we're looking to put our capital to use, but acknowledge it is a drop in the ocean compared to what's needed, £16 billion per annum, just on affordable housing. The other element, though, is making sure that where capital is going is delivering quality homes that are suitable, affordable, and meeting the needs of those tenants. And so really taking that people perspective.
15% of people think that housing is one of the top 3 issues facing the country today. Unfortunately, it loses it's down the pecking order compared to the economy, compared to health, compared to defence, immigration. And unfortunately, unless we kind of increase awareness of the problem and the cost, whether that's the economic cost, but also the social cost of a lack of housing, then we're not going to shift attitudes.
What do you think some of the solutions are to solving that?
I actually think that if we had politicians talking about this as an issue, that figure would go up, but we don't seem to have that. So basically, as a charity, what we could do is just sort of sit back and complain and keep saying the numbers going up, or we can do what we can to gather people who want to bring together solutions. And I think if you're dealing with a human emergency, which we are, then that's our duty.
How much empty properties are there in the UK? And if you take the average value at 300,000, that's something like 150 billion of cash just being wasted. We only need about 20% of that to recycle that into building more homes.
And I completely agree with your point on technology. I mean, if we think about economic growth, it's capital. Yes, it's £16 billion a year, but it's labor and it's technological progress. And technological progress has been such a tiny fraction of the real estate industry that there's so much room for growth here.
I suppose my view would be around waste. I mean, if you look at the amount of money that is now having to be spent on retrofitted development schemes that have failed over the last decade, whether it's regulatory failure, health and safety failure, fire risk failure, billions are just being leaked. Well, government allocated 5 billion, but the actual cost of retrofit of fire risks is around 50 billion. So, huge amount of waste from the sector. If you look at, the amount of waste that social housing loses every year because of all the issues that we've talked about, efficiency and technology, probably that figure is around 20 billion a year. So I think money is there. We talked about empty properties and so many people sitting on assets that are just empty and lying empty for years. There must be some way of getting a compulsory purchase order on those properties to use them or lose them kind of attitude. There is something around eliminating waste. And the other thing I will say is around people and culture. I think we need to professionalise the sector that deals with tackling housing for people who are in either affordability or in housing need.